Imagine unfolding a map of the Arab world. Endless deserts, ancient cities, exotic markets, and in every corner, a story pulsating quietly. While many believe these lands breathe only one faith, something astonishing is happening. Today, I'll reveal a phenomenon that defies prejudices, breaks barriers, and shatters stereotypes. The 10 Arab countries where Christianity is sprouting, unnoticed by most. Its growth is so subtle that if you blink, you might miss the most intriguing part of this story. Plus, halfway through, I'll reveal a country on this list currently at war, where a revolution has just erupted. This is an intense journey, full of nuances, that will leave you with an open mind and countless questions you may never have asked. Let's start with number 10. Which country do you think it is? Number 10. Saudi Arabia. We begin in the very heart of Islam. Saudi Arabia is renowned as the guardian of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, the cradle of the most orthodox Sunni Islam. With its absolute monarchical regime, upheld by a strict interpretation of Sharia, its religious and political influence extends across the Muslim world. For a long time it was unthinkable that Christianity could take root here. Yet, quietly, something is changing. Most Christians in Saudi Arabia are foreign workers from Asia or Africa. These individuals arrive seeking better wages and economic stability, but they bring their Bibles, hymns, and prayers with them. Although they cannot build visible churches, faith finds ingenious ways to express itself. Gatherings in apartments, clandestine devotions, digital readings of the gospel. In a legally hostile environment, where a Saudi convert could face family wrath, social rejection, or even legal penalties, Christian perseverance is an act of courage. Saudi society, by and large, doesn't even consider the possibility of Christians in their midst. The idea feels distant, foreign, impossible, but the whisper exists. Some Saudis, exposed to global information through the internet, social media, and satellite channels, are starting to ask questions. It's not a massive or noticeable movement, but the seeds are there. Though persecution is harsh, the Christian faith continues to grow, drop by drop, in this spiritual desert. Number 9. United Arab Emirates. Now we move to the United Arab Emirates, famous for its dizzying development, impossible skyscrapers in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and its role as a financial and tourist hub. Politically, it's a monarchical federation with strong control but a more open, cosmopolitan face than its neighbors. Oil wealth and trade have made this place a magnet for millions of expatriates from around the world. Among them are Christians from the Philippines, India, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. Here, churches exist with government approval, discreet but functional. The local population, though predominantly Muslim, has grown accustomed to the presence of foreigners of different religions, fostering a more tolerant climate. The country doesn't actively promote Christianity, but it tolerates it, as long as believers don't openly attempt to convert local citizens. The dynamic here is fascinating. Christianity grows through the strength of the diaspora and labor migration. Many Christian families see the UAE as a place to live their faith with less oppression, though with limitations. Society, immersed in the pursuit of modernity and international prestige, seems to accept religious diversity as part of the urban landscape. As the country projects itself globally, Christian communities flourish, building networks and reinforcing their spiritual identity in an environment that, while not free, is less oppressive than others. Number 8. Egypt. Egypt is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating intersections of history and religion. Famous for its pyramids and grand pharaonic civilization, it has also been a melting pot of cultures and religions since time immemorial. Politically, it has been marked by strong, often authoritarian governments that prioritize stability over individual freedoms. Yet, in this complex society lies the largest Christian community in the Middle East, the Coptic Church. The Copts are Egyptian Christians with roots dating back to the Apostolic era. Their churches, liturgies, and celebrations are part of the country's cultural fabric, though they have faced discrimination and violent attacks, especially in recent decades. Despite this, Christianity not only persists, but grows. New Protestant and Catholic denominations are joining the religious landscape, gaining followers among Coptic descendants and, discreetly, some Muslims seeking a different spiritual experience. Egyptian society, strained by political and social disputes, oscillates between hostility and peaceful coexistence. Some view Christians with suspicion, while others see them as an essential part of the national identity. The growth of Christianity in Egypt reflects the resilience of a millennia-old tradition that refuses to fade, while incorporating new currents and expressions of faith. Number 7. Lebanon. Lebanon is small, but its cultural and historical significance is immense. Famous for its cuisine, cosmopolitan nightlife, bilingual universities, and atmosphere of religious pluralism, this country offers a different image from other parts of the Arab world. Politically, it's a parliamentary democracy with a fragile sectarian balance among religious communities sharing power. Here, Christianity is not a negligible minority, but a central piece of the social puzzle. Maronites, Orthodox, Catholics, Protestants, and other denominations coexist in a complex scene where the Christian faith enjoys media, political, and cultural presence. Despite recurring crises, economic instability, foreign pressures, and the arrival of refugees, Christianity continues to expand. Missionaries, Christian NGOs, youth initiatives, and spiritual renewal movements find fertile ground in Lebanon. Lebanese society, accustomed to diversity, integrates the Christian presence without major upheaval. For many Lebanese, Christians are part of the human landscape that makes the country unique. This relative tolerance isn't free of tensions, but it allows the Christian faith to progress with a dynamism that starkly contrasts with the bleaker realities of its neighbors. Number 6. Jordan. Jordan, famous for the Nabatean city of Petra and its role as a refuge in a turbulent region, is a monarchy considered moderate. Its relative stability makes it a destination for those fleeing religious conflicts in other countries. The Christian community in Jordan is ancient, but in recent decades, it has been bolstered by the arrival of refugees from Iraq and Syria. Jordanian society, predominantly Muslim, shows greater tolerance than elsewhere. There are authorized churches, limited but existing rites, and the ability to practice Christianity without extreme risk. Even local conversions occur, though discreetly. The influence of education, cultural openness, and exposure to Christian refugees seeking safety has maintained a degree of social acceptance within limits. This moderately favorable climate drives Christian growth. While there's no explosion of mass conversions, the gradual increase reflects a society that, despite restrictions, allows Christians to breathe more freely. Still, caution is constant. No one forgets that laws and social pressures could shift if the political balance changes. Halfway point. The country at war. We've reached the halfway mark, and as promised, it's time to reveal the country on this list that's currently at war. Yes, it's Syria. In fact, just days ago, a revolution erupted in the country, overthrowing the regime. Want to know the situation in Syria? We'll reveal it at the end. Let's continue. Number 5. Iraq. Iraq, the cradle of ancient Mesopotamia, has been a stage for wars, invasions, and sectarian violence that left deep scars. Politically, it has tried to transition toward some form of democracy, but the shadow of instability and religious extremism lingers. The Iraqi Christian community is one of the oldest in the world, with origins dating back to the early centuries of Christianity. However, recent decades have been devastating. The rise of violent extremism forced hundreds of thousands of Christians to flee. Historic churches were looted, Christian villages emptied, and despair spread. Yet in recent years, with the territorial defeat of the most radical groups, some Christians are returning to their destroyed homes, rebuilding temples, and restoring the social fabric. Christianity grows here not in overwhelming numbers, but in resilience, historical roots, and renewed hope. Iraqi society, exhausted by violence, understands that religious diversity is not an enemy of peace, but a resource for healing wounds. This slow resurgence is not without dangers, but the mere fact that churches are reopening and crosses rise again on the Iraqi horizon is a testament to the transformative power of faith. Number 4. Syria. Syria, a land that has been home to Christian communities since the earliest centuries, has been ravaged by a relentless civil war. Millions of citizens have fled, neighborhoods reduced to rubble, religious minorities cornered by fanaticism. Politically, it remains under an authoritarian regime, and though the war's intensity has lessened, the country is far from regaining its former normalcy. Amid this landscape, Christianity has suffered a severe blow. Many Christian families left for exile, but those who stayed or are now cautiously returning work to revive community life, restore churches, preserve traditions, and pray for peace that is not a mirage. Christian growth in Syria is not reflected in large numbers, but in the ability to endure and preserve faith despite the material and moral ruin left by the conflict. Syrian society, exhausted, looks at Christians relighting lamps in ancient churches with a mix of respect and need. In a country that needs all its identities to rebuild, the Christian presence takes on symbolic and emotional value. Their religious celebrations, sacred music, and prayers in Aramaic, the language of Jesus, remind society that its collective identity is richer and more complex than the war tried to destroy. Number 3. Sudan. Sudan, famous for its Nubian pyramids and historic crossroads of trade routes, has lived through decades of authoritarian rule and the imposition of a strict vision of Islam. The country's partition and the birth of South Sudan altered the religious map. However, the repression of religious minorities, including Christians, hasn't entirely disappeared. Churches face obstacles to function, and new converts must be extremely cautious. Still, Christianity doesn't stop. Christian humanitarian organizations bring aid to remote regions, building ties and earning the trust of underserved communities. People seeking a spiritual alternative or valuing these groups' social work grow interested in the Christian faith. Slowly, an underground growth emerges, navigating censorship, curfews, and social pressures. Sudanese society is divided. Some long for the religious uniformity of the past. Others, having witnessed violence and suffering, begin to see the value of diversity. This tentative openness allows Christianity to take root, though its branches remain in the shadows. Number 2. Algeria. Algeria, a land of contrasts with its deserts, Mediterranean coast, and history marked by French colonialism, has traditionally been a strong state with authoritarian tendencies. Islam is a central element of national identity, and the practice of other religions has been viewed with suspicion. But in recent decades, an increase in Christian communities, especially evangelical ones, has been detected in regions far from central control. These communities, often made up of local converts, meet in secret. They use shortwave radio, Christian satellite channels, anonymous social media, and discrete copies of the Bible in Arabic. The government responds with restrictive laws and, at times, the closure of places of worship. Yet, the conviction of the faithful continues to grow. Christianity advances through familiarity and human connection. Those who embrace this faith in Algeria do so knowing they'll face opposition, but also find a supportive spiritual community. Algerian society, complex and proud of its Islamic identity, faces a challenge. For some, the Christian presence threatens national cohesion. For others, it's an expression of individual freedom that a modern society shouldn't suppress. This tension fuels Christianity's growth, driven by the desire for freedom and the inner strength of those seeking something new. Number 1. Morocco. Which country do you think takes the top spot? Here's a hint. It has a very good relationship with Spain. That country is Morocco. We've arrived at Morocco, famous for its spice-filled souks, Atlas Mountains, imperial cities, and a monarchy that blends tradition with a certain openness to the outside world. Culturally, Islam is the pillar of national identity, and religious conversion, especially to Christianity, is frowned upon. Still, in recent years, reports have emerged of a growing number of Moroccan converts to Christianity, a phenomenon that seemed unthinkable decades ago. This growth is silent, almost impossible to quantify precisely. Many new believers connect online with international Christian communities, read the Bible on their phones, participate in digital forums, and watch video sermons. Some even meet discreetly with other converts, forming small cells of faith. The pressure is immense. Family rejection can be harsh. Losing a job is a real possibility, and state surveillance exists, though sometimes subtle. Moroccan society reacts with disbelief and rejection, but also with some intrigue. Young people, more connected to the global world, wonder why someone would risk changing their religion. That curiosity can lead others to investigate, read, and discover. In this way, Christianity grows like an underground current, a force weaving through the social fabric that, though it struggles, keeps expanding. Spain and Morocco, a complex relationship. Speaking of Morocco, what do you think its relationship with Spain is like? Is it very strong or very weak? Picture the Strait of Gibraltar. Two shores, two worlds intertwined. On one side, Spain, a European nation with recognized political and economic weight. On the other, Morocco, a North African monarchy that has learned to navigate the geopolitical chessboard with cunning. While their relationship appears cordial at first glance, beneath that friendly veil lie games of pressure, strategic dependencies, and invisible tensions. Over the years, Spain has sought to maintain good relations with Morocco, trade agreements, security cooperation, energy deals, but this closeness has become so tight that some consider it excessive. Morocco has realized it can use these ties to pressure Madrid. How? By managing migration flows to its advantage, conditioning energy stability, and leveraging tensions between Spain and other actors like Algeria. One of the most striking cases was the breakdown of relations between Spain and Algeria, its former energy ally. This didn't happen in a vacuum. Morocco played its cards, forcing Spain to seek alternatives and, in doing so, bolstering its own position of power. The result? Madrid is trapped. It needs Morocco to control irregular immigration and ensure supplies, but at a high political cost. Migration pressure is a subtle but effective weapon. Whenever Morocco hints at loosening border control, Spain envisions waves of migrants crossing the Mediterranean. This isn't just a humanitarian drama. It's a serious political and social issue for Spain and the European Union. Thus, Madrid strives to keep Rabat content. However, every conciliatory gesture involves small concessions that increase Moroccan influence. The energy issue is no less critical. With Algeria distanced, Spain's gas supply is at risk. Morocco steps in as an alternative partner, but not for free. Spain's economy is thus conditioned by Rabat's strategies, which sees every opportunity to secure political or commercial benefits. This delicate balance isn't limited to formal agreements. The large Moroccan community in Spain adds another dimension. In skilled hands, this diaspora can generate indirect networks of influence. It's not just about illegal immigration, but citizens who, over time, can form a cultural, social, or political lobby, reinforcing dependency ties. Meanwhile, Ceuta and Melilla, Spain's two cities in North Africa, remain a sensitive issue. Though not constantly discussed, Morocco views them as a colonial remnant, a latent topic that could resurface if relations sour. This often unspoken factor is another card in Morocco's hand. The European Union, for its part, tends to keep its distance. Some member states prefer not to get involved in a conflict that could disrupt their own interests. Thus, Spain is left in a compromised position, balancing Morocco's demands without sparking internal or international opposition. Every misstep could trigger a domino effect that's hard to control. In this complex scenario, the question is whether Spain can break free from this pressure without paying too high a price. The answer isn't simple. Diversifying energy sources, strengthening agreements with other partners, bolstering its influence in Brussels, and taking a firmer stance against Rabat's demands are possible options, but not without risks. Every action could provoke a Moroccan reaction, whether by escalating migration tensions or reviving old conflicts. What we've seen is a map of crisscrossing interests. What seems like a good relationship conceals careful maneuvers, veiled pressures, and a precarious balance. Spain needs Morocco, and Morocco knows it. This knowledge gives Rabat an advantage, influencing key decisions without overt aggression. It's diplomatic chess where pieces move quietly but with profound consequences. We've journeyed through 10 Arab countries where Christianity is making inroads, sometimes as a faint rumor, sometimes as a consolidated community, sometimes as a heroic act in the face of persecution. Each nation presents a unique scenario, but all share the same truth. The Christian faith is not static. It flows, expands, takes root in hearts that didn't know it before, and strengthens amid adversities that would shake anyone. We've seen impenetrable Saudi Arabia, cosmopolitan Dubai, resilient Copts in Egypt, Lebanon's diversity, Jordan's refuge, Iraq's reconstruction, Syria's rebirth, Sudan's perseverance, Algeria's boldness, and Morocco's silent murmur. Each story proves that when faith finds fertile ground, no political, social, or cultural barriers can halt its long-term growth. It's a phenomenon that challenges official narratives, cold statistics, and entrenched prejudices. Now that you've discovered these stories, I invite you to reflect. These tales rarely make headlines, but they exist. They're flesh and blood people living their faith in silence, overcoming trials, and sharing a message that, for them, is worth any risk. If you found value in this journey, if it surprised or inspired you, I invite you to like this video. And if you want to keep exploring unknown realities, profound stories, and perspectives that break from the commonplace, consider subscribing to this channel. There's so much more to discover, and this is just the beginning of a long conversation with the world.